Hoffman, campaign chair for the United Way.
And who's your associate there?
Who is this guy?
Kenny Montijo with United Way.
Very good. You may proceed.
Thank you. We appreciate, we know your schedule is very busy, and we appreciate your invitation to share just a few minutes with you. The commissioners and the county have always been very supportive of the United Way. And I know that all three of you at some point have served on the board as a liaison from the county, and we appreciate that very, very much. The campaign is underway. Our goal is $1,750,000. To date, we had our first report meeting last Thursday, and we're at about $350,000. So it's very early, but you know, we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, I think. You know, this year has been very unusual with all the national disasters that have occurred with the floods, et cetera. And I know that we reach out, you know, to help people in those regions. But, you know, we also remind folks that the needs here in Lebanon County are great. And so we hope that, you know, people will continue to support us in that regard. And as Commissioner Phillips indicated, there are two things that are very different this year about the campaign. First, I want to say that the overhead of the United Way has always historically been very low, and certainly low relative to the typical overhead of other nonprofits. But having said that, through the generosity of Fulton Bank, the Bear Corporation, Butler Blue Scope, and the Dixon Foundation, we're happy to tell the community that this year the overhead is completely covered by donations from those four organizations. So what that means is that every dollar that is donated goes directly to programs. None of that goes to overhead. The second thing that is new this year, it's not new historically, but it is new for the last 5 years, is that this year is the year where we did our needs assessment. And we do that every 5 years. It's a very comprehensive program with a lot of input from community folks and organizations, and we've had focus groups and community town meetings and what have you. And this was done in conjunction with Penn State, and we now do have the needs assessment in hand. We shared that at our report meeting last week, and we have them here to share with you this morning. And I'd like Kenny to share some additional thoughts about the needs assessment.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to read a quick statement that I think just consolidates the why and the what of the needs assessment. First and foremost, United Way is pleased to present the 2017 Community Needs Assessment Report. We first would like to thank our United Way building blocks that Bob mentioned, who together underwrite a significant portion of our administrative costs. The more than 1,700 community residents that participated in the survey, the organizations that distributed survey, to the clients seeking services, and the individuals who participate in focus groups, the members of the advisory group, and Penn State Harrisburg. We had our community conversation, drew out 115 community leaders representing government, private industry, nonprofits, a plethora of services in our community, who really dove deep into some early indicators and also provided some direction for United Way as we look to spearhead some of the solutions to the issues present in this needs assessment. Every day in Lebanon County we see development and growth. This includes new housing construction, road and infrastructure improvements, national employers relocated to the area, a general reduction in crime, which I think is very positive, and many other positive trends. However, significant needs do exist. Nearly 45% of our children live below 200% of the poverty line. That's county-wide. When you look at the city, it's over 50% of our children. Of our 3- and 4-year-olds, 64% don't have access to high-quality early learning education opportunities, which is a direct indicator to school success and also a preventative measure to really some of the issues we see later on in teen and adolescent behavior. We also have a higher share than the state of non-high school graduates here in Lebanon County. But with this report, United Way sought out to identify these and other indicators relevant to the health and well-being of our community's most valuable strength, our people, our community. Our goal is to provide the community with an up-to-date, accurate collection of data reflecting both the needs in our county and the barriers faced by members in our community in accessing services. And I think this is important here because there is a number of indicators here, and this isn't the full report. But it must be noted that these indicators aren't mutually exclusive. They're interdependent and interrelated with one another. And I think it's important that we look at it in a holistic approach. And as a community, begin to work collectively and collaboratively in addressing some of these solutions. I just wanted to take just a moment, and I will not review this whole piece with you, but I wanted to take you to page 18, where it talks a little bit about poverty in our community. And on page 18, it's 11%, 11.3% live in poverty. When you take when you increase that to 200% of poverty, which is that self-sufficiency, it's almost 30% of our county lives below self-sufficiency. When you look at our unaffordable housing in Lebanon County, almost 30%, it might be even just a hair over 30%, live in unaffordable housing situations here. And I think when we look over then to the unmet needs identified by the 1,700 folks, and we see that dental insurance and dental care is number 1 and number 2, and United Way, in partnership with Walsh Mountain, helps support the I almost said free, but it is a significant reduction in cost to access dental care through Lebanon Ridge Oral Health. But we also see finding a job is important, health insurance and transportation, affordable housing, and food assistance counseling. So, one of my questions is, if we were, as a county, to reduce poverty in Lebanon County, would by extension we reduce the need of these services or the barriers that individuals in our community face accessing services? If we can help raise a family out of poverty, will that come with insurance? Will that come with access to other services that jobs and careers provide for our community? There's another, I think, important statistic in here of the many, and that's 581 reported child abuse cases in 2015. I mean, this is a staggering number for our community. I know there are many individuals working to not only relieve the stress and the issues persistent in that population, but also decrease the number of cases. When you look at the number of uninsured children in our county, there are 5 municipalities here in Lebanon County where over 1 in 4 kids doesn't have access to health insurance. And so, United Way feels that these issues are for the community to have and be aware of. And so we plan on, in 2018, throughout this year in 2018, holding additional community conversations to really dive deep into these issues and develop community-wide goals that we can address collectively and collaboratively, so that we can reduce the number of people living in poverty. We can increase graduation rates and others, but we want those solutions to come from the community, from its leaders, from its experts, and certainly not from my team or my staff. We just want to be there, being the convener to those conversations and those solutions. But we present this to you today, and it's our hope that other organizations across the community, not just partners of United Way as regarding funding, but anybody use this assessment to write grants, to hold community conversations, to really look at the issues persistent in our community.
Thank you. I just want to comment that along with the underwriting of the overhead, I mean, that's to me historic, because that's been a barrier to some giving. But if you take that off the table, and now you have 100% of the money going to the agencies after they've been well vetted by community panels, and you're tying the tool here to the agencies and challenging them to work on these. I mean, it doesn't get better than that for the donor to have clarity and confidence that they're giving to a purpose that's going to have results for our neighbors. So that's why I thought it was important. And we're always working at the county on increasing participation. And so this is probably our best year as far as having some new things to sell and to be proud of. And Bill, did you want, as liaison, did you want to, this is the fun part for us, trying to figure out what we want to do to help bring attention to our campaign, so.
Well, before I get into that, at the United Way board meeting this morning as the liaison from the county, I commented on this particular publication and how relevant the information is. I know there have been things like this in the past, but this assessment booklet is valuable, I'm sure, to United Way and to the agencies. But as someone involved in local government, as I read through this, there's a lot of things here that have impact on the decisions that we make. So I again want to reemphasize and thank you for providing this, and it is valuable. As far as encouraging folks here at the county to participate in the United Way drive, we've had some discussion as a total board, and we have a little bit of difference of opinion, but Commissioner Litz, I know, was surveying the community last evening and came up with some suggestions. Some of them are obviously worthwhile, but would you like me to indicate what I'm willing to do at this time, or you want?
Well, as a preface to that, we want to acknowledge Bob Hoffman's fifth time as chairman, volunteer chairman, representing the hundreds of volunteers and the thousands of donors that are part of this network. But we wanted to present this for your good efforts on behalf of all of us, and thank you. And it may have a bearing on what we're coming up with today. That's why I wanted to insert that right now. So
Thank you very much.
We'll give that to you.
I also had a comment on the community needs survey.
Sure.
I thought it was very well done, but I don't, I know anything can be interpreted many different ways. And for instance, the children that were reported as abused, our Children and Youth Service does a wonderful job. In fact, all of our departments do wonderful jobs in addressing these as they come forward.
Yes.
We are not letting them go undone. They investigate, they are under very strict rules that they have to follow, and they're on top of it. So I want to make sure that there's not a misperception that these children are not being helped. They are. Perception.
Yeah, no, that's correct, and I think that's a valid statement. And you know, it's no surprise that Lebanon High School has the highest dropout rate in the county, and you know, they're looking at that and they're like, see, Lebanon High School. Lebanon High, there's so many positive things happening in Lebanon High School. It's amazing, and I believe we're both alumni of Lebanon High. We're proud of our school. I live in the city, and my taxes go to support Lebanon High. But I think it's just important to just state the fact. The fact is, you know, they have the highest rate. This number of children are, you know, abused in some way, and it's not a blame game. But when we talk about solutions, we want children and youth at the table. We want other providers in SARC at the table to say, okay, well, these are issues that are persistent, and how can we help reduce them in the community? With respect to the 100% giving, you know, I think that's phenomenal, and I'm so very proud of our partners, our longtime partners who stepped up with multi-year gifts to support this. You know, United Way is a global organization, but what sets us apart from nearly every other national or global organization is that we are autonomous. We are responsible and led. We're responsible to Lebanon County, and we are 100% led by Lebanon County. We have a board of directors, 36 members strong of our community, who make all funding decisions and all impact decisions. And so while we're part of a global association which has its benefits, you know, we are a 100% locally governed, locally focused organization. So when a donor or a contributor or an employee gives to United Way in Lebanon County, 100% of their funds, unless they're designating it elsewhere, go to support our residents here. And I think that's just an important distinction to note. You know, we're not funding research that's important, but you know, in another state, you know, we're funding direct services for our community here in Lebanon County.
No?
Well, we'll talk about quickly maybe we'll be developing this as we go, but Bill, did you have?
Well, we had talked, 2 years ago, I think, we had the pie in the face thing. And
That was very popular.
Seemed like very well received, that for whatever reason.
We gotta have fun with it.
Commissioner Phillips and I, people like to put pie in our face, so I think that's a viable choice, and I'm gonna leave that out there on the table as a possibility, and I would be willing to, rather than just one person have that opportunity, I would like to open that up to 5 of our donors. And what we do this by lottery. It's not how much money you give, it's if you give, you're eligible to get involved in this lottery process. And I would like to offer on my own dime here the opportunity to go to lunch with my wife and I to those folks that would choose that option. So we would take them somewhere
So
for
they
a
could do
nice
the pie in the
lunch.
face or lunch.
Or the lunch, yep.
Okay. I'll do the same thing. I'll do 5, so not, because that way we have more energy, in participation. So that's good. That's a good compromise.
These would be locally made pies, I assume.
They're very locally made. Our ladies from the Human Resources bake them on site.
Yes, I'm sure.
I would like to offer to take, I was thinking 1, but okay, 5, I'll have to work on my budget, 5 of the people to lunch. And also I would like to then encourage a conversation on how we can improve county government, whether it is through services or cost savings, and bring that back to a meeting for possible implementation. And I cannot take credit for this particular presentation because I did do a survey of my own to find out what would be meaningful to people, because I think it's important to get feedback and input. And that is one of the suggestions that had merit. And the other one was that I would be willing to volunteer to go to one of the 22 funded organizations and provide a half a day of service, whether that is serving a meal at Lebanon County Christian Ministries, or running a bingo game for veterans at Compeer, or helping a scout troop to earn a badge, or the YMCA, whatever it would be. Leaving that choice to the person picked. So the 5 that are chosen could have that option versus the pie in the face for me. I prefer not to do that one.
We have our, standard set 15. We'll have 15 winners instead of 3, so that's a nice, unless Jamie wants to be another 5. But,
Jamie, can you
he's
win?
a very popular target, as we know. But no, we'll go with the 15, and under those combinations, we'll communicate that to the employees and try to get some energy into the campaign and hopefully bump that participation number up a little bit in light of all the good things that you've brought to our attention. So thank you. Anything
Thank you
else?
very much for your time. We
All right.
appreciate it very much.
Hand this off. This should be